I thought my life was finally coming together. 3 years with Amanda, a perfect proposal at her favorite restaurant overlooking Lady Bird Lake, her tearful yes. The wedding venue was booked invitations sent everything planned for a beautiful October ceremony. But 2 months before the wedding, a single text message destroyed everything I believed about love, family, and trust. I always thought I knew my brother. We shared the same blood, the same childhood bedroom. I never imagined Derek could do this. Before I share what happened next, let me know in the comments where you are watching from today. If you believe family should never betray family, hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. What I discovered would test everything I believed about forgiveness and revenge. My name is Freeman, and I want to take you back to where it all began. 3 years ago, my best friend Marcus threw a 4th of July barbecue at his place. The Texas heat was brutal that day, over 100 degrees, but his backyard was packed with people celebrating. I almost did not go. Work had been exhausting, and I just wanted to stay home. But Marcus insisted, said there would be someone there I needed to meet. That someone was Amanda. She was standing by the cooler wearing a simple blue sundress, laughing at something someone said. Our eyes met across the yard, and something just clicked. We started talking about hiking trails around Austin, then moved on to old movies. She loved the classics Casablanca, Roman Holiday, all the films my grandmother used to watch. We talked for 3 hours straight while fireworks exploded overhead. Our first official date was at a small Italian restaurant downtown. I was so nervous I spilled water all over the tablecloth. She just laughed and helped me clean it up. No judgment, no awkwardness. That was Amanda. Or at least, that was who I thought she was. 6 months later, we took our first trip together to Big Bend National Park. We hiked for hours, watched the sunset from the South Rim, and talked about our futures. She said she wanted a family someday, 2 kids, maybe 3. A house with a big backyard, a life built on trust and loyalty. I remember thinking I had found the one. After 18 months, she moved into my apartment. Life felt complete in a way it never had before. I had worked so hard for so long, focused entirely on my career as a software engineer. I climbed the ladder at my tech company, earned promotions, built financial stability. But something was always missing. Amanda filled that void. When I got promoted to senior engineer, I knew it was time. I saved for 6 months to buy the ring she deserved. A princess-cut diamond, simple but elegant, just like her. I planned the proposal for weeks. Sunset at Lady Bird Lake, her favorite spot in the city. When I got down on one knee, she started crying before I even finished the question. Her yes was the happiest moment of my life. But to understand what happened next, you need to understand my family. Growing up, I always lived in my younger brother Derek's shadow. He was 4 years younger than me, but somehow he was always the star. Better looking, more charming, the kind of person who could walk into a room and own it within minutes. Our parents adored him. He could do no wrong. I remember when Derek was 17, he borrowed our father's car without permission and crashed it into a guardrail. The front end was completely destroyed. My parents blamed the weather. They said the roads were slick, it was not his fault. But when I was 15 and brought home a report card with a B+ in chemistry, they grounded me for a week. Said I was not living up to my potential. That was just how things were in our house. I worked 2 jobs through college to pay my tuition. Derek's education was fully covered by our parents. They said he needed the support more than I did. I never complained. I just worked harder. Despite everything, I loved my brother. Blood is blood. Right. When Derek got into real estate, I helped him build his client base. Introduced him to colleagues, friends, anyone who might need an agent. I wanted him to succeed. I was excited when I asked him to be my best man at the wedding. He said yes with a big smile, hugged me tight, told me he was honored. Looking back, I wonder if he was already planning his betrayal. The first signs appeared about 6 months before the wedding. Small things at first, easy to dismiss. Amanda started being protective of her phone. She would always place it face down on the table, something she never did before. When I walked into a room while she was texting, she would quickly lock the screen. She also started working late more often. Marketing deadlines, she said. Big campaigns coming up. Sometimes she would not get home until after 10 at night. I believed her. Why would I not? Then Derek started visiting our apartment more frequently. He claimed he had showings nearby and wanted to stop in and say hello, but he always came when I was at work. Amanda mentioned his visits, casually said they would have coffee and chat. She said he was lonely, going through a rough patch with dating. One evening, I came home early from work. A meeting got canceled, so I left the office around 4. When I walked through the door, I found Derek and Amanda on the couch. They were sitting close laughing about something on her phone. The moment they heard my keys, they jumped apart like teenagers caught by their parents. The look on their faces lasted only a second before they composed themselves. Derek said he was just showing Amanda some funny videos. She agreed, said they were killing time waiting for me to get home. Their explanations were smooth rehearsed almost. I told myself I was imagining things. This was my brother. This was the woman I loved. They would never betray me. Paranoia was getting the better of me. A few days later, Marcus mentioned something that stuck with me. He said he had seen Derek's car parked outside my apartment building twice that week, both times during work hours. I defended them immediately. Told Marcus he was being ridiculous, that Derek was just visiting Amanda as friends. Marcus gave me a look I will never forget. It was pity mixed with concern. I ignored it. I pushed down every doubt. The wedding was coming, and I refused to let suspicion ruin the happiest time of my life. That was my first mistake. 4 months before the wedding, the cracks in my relationship became impossible to ignore. Amanda grew emotionally distant in ways that confused me. She stopped reaching for my hand when we watched television. She stopped kissing me goodbye in the mornings. Physical intimacy became rare, then almost non-existent. I tried everything to reconnect. I planned romantic dinners at restaurants we loved. I suggested weekend getaways to places we had always wanted to visit. Every Friday, I brought home fresh flowers, her favorites yellow roses. She would smile, say, "Thank you," put them in a vase. But her eyes were somewhere else. Her mind was somewhere else. I asked her repeatedly if something was wrong. She always had the same answer. Wedding stress. Work pressure. She just needed time. I gave her space, thinking I was being supportive. I did not realize I was giving her room to continue her secret. Around this time, Derek started making strange comments about the wedding. We would be at family dinners, and he would ask questions that felt loaded. "Do you really think you are ready for marriage? Freeman, are you sure Amanda is the one? Maybe you should wait another year." His tone was casual, but his eyes watched me carefully for reactions. Our parents started echoing the same sentiments. My mother pulled me aside one Sunday and suggested that maybe I was rushing things. She said Amanda seemed uncertain that a longer engagement might be wise. I was frustrated but assumed they were just being cautious, overprotective in their own way. I pushed forward with wedding planning, finalized the guest list, confirmed the caterer, chose the music for the reception. Every detail was meant to create the perfect day. I wanted Amanda to know how much I loved her. I thought if the wedding was beautiful enough, whatever was wrong would fix itself. 3 months before the wedding, my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. I was at work in the middle of reviewing code when I glanced at the screen. The message was short. "Ask your fiancée where she really was last Tuesday night. She was not at her mother's house." My hands went cold. Last Tuesday, Amanda had told me she was driving to her mother's place to help reorganize the garage. Her mom lived about 40 miles outside the city in a small town called Dripping Springs. Amanda left around 5 in the evening and did not get home until almost midnight. She said they ordered pizza, went through old boxes, found photo albums from her childhood. I wanted to dismiss the text as some sick prank, a wrong number, someone trying to cause trouble, but something in my gut told me to check. That night, I logged into our shared credit card account. Amanda and I had combined finances a year earlier, a sign of trust and commitment. I scrolled through the recent transactions looking for a gas station charge near Dripping Springs. The drive there and back would have required at least one fill-up. There was no gas purchase that day. Instead, I found a charge at a hotel, the Marriott downtown, about 20 minutes from our apartment. The charge was for one night, posted on Tuesday evening. My vision blurred. My chest tightened. There had to be an explanation. Maybe her mother paid for gas. Maybe the hotel charge was a mistake, a duplicate from a previous stay. I was grasping for anything. I decided to test her. That evening over dinner, I asked casually how her mother was doing after the garage project. Amanda smiled and launched into details. She talked about boxes of old Christmas decorations they found, photo albums from her parents' wedding. They ordered pizza from her mom's favorite place, a local joint called Rosario's. She laughed about how tired they both were by the end. She lied to my face without a single hesitation. Her voice was steady. Her eyes met mine directly. There was no nervous fidgeting, no tells. She was either an incredible liar or she had done this many times before. That night, I could not sleep. I lay next to her in bed, staring at the ceiling, wondering who this woman really was. The person I planned to spend my life with was becoming a stranger. The next few weeks, I became a detective in my own relationship. I paid attention to patterns I had ignored before. Amanda deleted her text messages constantly, now something she never did in the past. Her phone was always locked. The password changed from the one I knew. I started tracking Derek's schedule. Noticed that every time Amanda worked late, Derek was conveniently busy too. Family dinners where he claimed he could not make it aligned perfectly with nights Amanda came home past 10. I told Marcus everything. He did not say, "I told you so." He just helped me piece together the timeline. Based on what we could figure out, Derek and Amanda had been meeting secretly for at least 5 months. Their relationship started before I even proposed. But I still did not have concrete proof. Everything was circumstantial. Maybe they were just friends who happened to have overlapping schedules. Maybe I was going insane with jealousy over nothing. I needed the truth, whatever it was. So I set a trap. I told Amanda that my company was sending me to a conference in San Francisco. 3 days away, Wednesday through Friday. I made a show of packing my suitcase, complaining about the early flight, asking her to water the plants while I was gone. She kissed me goodbye at the door, told me to have a safe trip. I drove to a hotel 5 miles from our apartment and checked in under my own name. Then I waited. On Thursday night, the second day of my fake business trip, I drove to my apartment complex around 11 in the evening. The parking lot was quiet, most residents already asleep. I scanned the spaces near my building, my heart pounding against my ribs. Derek's car was parked in my designated spot. I sat in my car for 10 minutes trying to convince myself there was an innocent explanation. Maybe he was dropping something off. Maybe Amanda was sick and he came to help. Maybe I was about to destroy my family over a misunderstanding. But I knew. Deep down, I already knew. I used my key as quietly as possible, turning the lock slowly to minimize sound. The apartment was dark except for a faint light coming from the hallway leading to our bedroom. I heard laughter. Her laughter. Then his. The walk to that bedroom door felt like it took an hour. Each step was heavy, like my feet were filled with concrete. I stood outside for a moment, listening to the sounds of their conversation, their intimacy. My hand trembled as I reached for the handle. I pushed the door open. What I saw will stay with me forever. Amanda and Derek in my bed in the home I paid for in the life I had built. They froze when they saw me. Amanda screamed. Derek scrambled to cover himself, his face shifting from shock to something else. Was that guilt, or was it relief? "What are you doing here?" Derek shouted. "You are supposed to be in San Francisco." The absurdity of his response almost made me laugh. He was caught in my bed with my fiancée, and his first reaction was to question why I was home. Amanda started crying immediately. "Freeman, please let me explain. It is not what it looks like. She actually said those words. The most cliché phrase in the history of infidelity. I stood in the doorway remarkably calm. The shock had numbed me. I demanded answers, my voice steady and cold. How long has this been going on? Derek tried to lie at first. Said it just happened a moment of weakness, a terrible mistake. But I kept pressing. I told them I already knew about the hotel. I knew about the secret meetings. I knew they had been lying for months. Finally, Derek's composure cracked. He admitted the truth. They had been together for 7 months. Their affair started before I ever proposed. While I was planning the perfect proposal at Lady Bird Lake, while I was saving for a ring, while I was dreaming of our future, my brother was sleeping with the woman I loved. Then came the blow that nearly destroyed me. "Amanda's pregnant," Derek said. 8 weeks. It is mine. The room spun. I grabbed the doorframe to steady myself. Amanda was crying harder now, but I noticed she was not apologizing. She was not begging for forgiveness. She was just crying because she got caught. Derek looked at me with an expression I will never forget. A slight smirk played at the corner of his mouth. "Maybe this is a sign, Freeman. Maybe you should step aside. Amanda and I want to be together. We want to raise this baby as a family. My brother wanted to steal my life." Amanda finally spoke up. She said she had fallen in love with Derek. She never meant to hurt me, but the heart wants what it wants. She wanted to marry him, have his baby, build the life we had planned together just without me in it. I left without another word, got in my car, and drove until I found myself at a 24-hour diner on the outskirts of town. I sat in a booth for 3 hours drinking coffee I did not taste, trying to process the complete destruction of everything I believed in. The next morning, I called an emergency family meeting at my parents' house. I drove there expecting support, expecting outrage on my behalf, expecting my family to stand with me against this unforgivable betrayal. I was wrong. My parents listened to the whole story with expressions I could not read. When I finished, the room was silent for a long moment. Then my mother spoke. "Freeman, honey love is complicated." Derek could not help his feelings. "These things happen sometimes." I stared at her in disbelief. "These things happen. My brother got my fiancée pregnant after a 7-month affair, and her response was that these things happen. My father jumped in next. 'You need to be the bigger person here, son. Think about the family. Think about the baby. That is your niece or nephew. You do not want to tear this family apart over something that cannot be undone.' Derek sat there looking like a victim. He talked about how guilty he felt, how he never meant to hurt me, how love is not something you can control. He actually had the audacity to ask me to forgive him right there in front of our parents, like his betrayal was just a minor inconvenience. Amanda's family was no better. When word got out, her parents called me and suggested I quietly cancel the wedding and let everyone move on. They said making a scene would only embarrass everyone involved. They were more concerned about their daughter's reputation than my devastation. That night alone in a hotel room, I realized something important. I was completely alone in this. The people who were supposed to protect me, my own blood, had chosen the person who destroyed me. Every assumption I had about family loyalty, about love, about trust, was wrong. But sitting in that hotel room, I also made a decision. I would not be a victim. I would not crumble. Derek and Amanda had taken enough from me. They would not take my dignity. The next morning, I started making phone calls. First, I contacted a lawyer, discovered that the apartment lease was solely in my name, signed before Amanda and I ever met. My attorney drafted a formal notice giving Amanda 72 hours to vacate the premises. Everything legal, everything documented, everything above board. I separated our finances completely, closed the joint credit cards, divided the shared accounts. I meticulously documented every piece of evidence I had gathered, screenshots of credit card statements, the timeline of their deception, everything organized in case I ever needed it. Then I focused on Derek. My brother's real estate career existed because of me. Every major client he had came through my professional network. Colleagues I introduced him to, friends who trusted my recommendation. For years, I had vouched for him, helped him build something out of nothing. I did not badmouth him. I did not spread rumors or attack his character publicly. I simply told the truth when people asked why the wedding was canceled. My brother had a 7-month affair with my fiancée. She is pregnant with his child. They want to get married. Word spread through our professional community like wildfire. Several major clients dropped Derek within weeks. Business associates who had trusted my judgment felt betrayed by extension. Nobody wanted to work with a man who would do that to his own brother. Derek's reputation crumbled without me having to lift a finger. The truth was enough. A few days after everything exploded, I got a call from Uncle Jerry. He was my father's older brother, a successful businessman who had built a commercial real estate company from the ground up. Growing up, Uncle Jerry was the only family member who truly saw me. He recognized my work ethic, my integrity, my value. He never favored Derek the way everyone else did. Uncle Jerry had heard everything. He was disgusted by my parents' response, by Derek's behavior, by the whole situation. He told me something that changed my life. Freeman, I had planned to leave my business to both you and Derek when I pass. 50-50 split. But after seeing how this family treated you, I have changed my will. Everything goes to you. The whole company. Worth over $2 million. He also offered me something immediate. A position as his partner starting right away. A chance to build something meaningful away from the toxic environment my family had created. I accepted without hesitation. As for the wedding, I handled it with dignity. When friends and extended family asked what happened, I told the simple truth. No exaggeration, no drama, no revenge speeches. Just facts. People drew their own conclusions, and overwhelmingly they concluded that Derek and Amanda were in the wrong. The wedding vendors we had hired, many of whom had become friends during the planning process, spread the story through their networks. Amanda and Derek found themselves socially isolated. Several venues refused to host their rushed wedding. Caterers declined their business. The community had spoken. 2 weeks after everything fell apart, Derek showed up at my door. He looked terrible. Unshaven dark circles under his eyes, clothes wrinkled. His career was crumbling. Amanda was demanding things he could not provide. Our parents were fighting constantly because of the scandal. Everything he thought he had won was turning to ash. "Freeman, please," he said. "I need your help. If you publicly forgive me, if you tell people we have moved past this, I can save my career. I can fix this. We are brothers. Blood is thicker than water." I looked at him for a long moment. This man who shared my childhood, who I had helped at every turn, who repaid my loyalty by destroying my life. "You made your choice," I said calmly. "Now live with it." I closed the door and never looked back. Despite everything I had done, despite the external victories, the internal pain was overwhelming. The first month after discovery was the darkest period of my life. I could not eat. Food tasted like cardboard. I lost 15 pounds in 4 weeks. Sleep became my enemy. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw them together. Nightmares jolted me awake at 3 a.m, covered in sweat, reaching for a woman who was no longer there. I questioned everything about myself. Was there something fundamentally wrong with me? Some flaw that drove Amanda into my brother's arms? Could I have prevented this if I had been more attentive, more romantic, more present? Did I miss obvious signs because I was too focused on work, on building a future that never existed? I threw myself into my job at Uncle Jerry's company, working 14-hour days, learning the business inside and out. But success felt hollow. I closed deals, impressed clients, exceeded every expectation. None of it filled the void. Marcus refused to let me spiral completely. He showed up at my apartment one night unannounced with a business card in his hand. A therapist, he knew someone who specialized in trauma and betrayal. Marcus told me I could either call the number willingly or he would drag me there himself. I made the call. That therapist saved my life. Over months of sessions, she helped me understand something crucial. Their betrayal was about their character, not my worth. Amanda and Derek made choices that reflected who they were as people. Nothing I did or did not do caused their deception. Nothing I could have changed would have prevented two people committed to lying. Slowly, I started to rebuild. I returned to hiking, something I had abandoned during my relationship with Amanda. Weekend mornings, I would drive to trails around Austin and walk for hours. The physical exhaustion helped quiet my mind. The beauty of nature reminded me that the world was larger than my pain. I reconnected with old friends I had neglected, college roommates I had not seen in years, coworkers I used to grab lunch with before Amanda consumed all my time. These relationships had atrophied because I poured everything into her. Now I understood the importance of maintaining connections outside of romance. Uncle Jerry became more than a business partner. He became a mentor and father figure, filling the role my own father had abandoned. We had dinner together twice a week. He taught me about business, about resilience, about maintaining integrity when the world tries to break you. 3 months after the breakup, I adopted a rescue dog from the Austin Humane Society, a 2-year-old German Shepherd mix named Scout. He had been abandoned by his previous owners, left tied to a fence outside the shelter. The volunteers said he had trust issues that he would take time to warm up. Scout and I understood each other. We were both learning to trust again. Coming home to his excited face every evening gave me a reason to keep going. Walking him through the neighborhood, playing fetch at the park, falling asleep with his warmth beside me. Scout taught me that healing could come from unexpected places. 6 months after everything fell apart, I attended a technology conference for work. Uncle Jerry wanted me to network with potential clients, expand our commercial real estate connections in the tech industry. I was standing at the refreshment table pouring coffee I did not really want when someone spoke beside me. That coffee looks like it has been sitting there since yesterday. I turned to find a woman about my age with short brown hair and an amused smile. Her name tag read Rachel, and she worked for a software company based in Dallas. We started talking about the conference, then about the tech industry, then about Austin restaurants, then about everything. Rachel was direct in a way I appreciated. No games, no hidden meanings. When she laughed, her whole face participated. She asked me questions and actually listened to the answers. By the end of the conference, we had exchanged numbers. I was not ready to date. The wounds were still too fresh. But for the first time since my world collapsed, I could imagine being happy again. I could imagine trusting someone. I could imagine a future that included love. Healing was not linear. Some days were harder than others. I would hear a song Amanda used to play or drive past a restaurant we loved, and the grief would crash over me like a wave. But each month those waves came less frequently. Each month the weight on my chest got a little lighter. 1 year after I found them together, I sat on my apartment balcony with Scout at my feet, watching the Austin skyline at sunset. Uncle Jerry's company was thriving. My partnership had exceeded all expectations. I had money in the bank, friends who cared about me, a dog who loved me unconditionally. Rachel and I had been on several dates, taking things slow, building something real. I thought about everything I had learned. Betrayal reveals character, not just in those who betray, but in how we respond to being betrayed. Derek and Amanda showed me who they really were. My parents showed me who they really were. And in my response, I showed myself who I could become. I chose not to be bitter. Bitterness would mean they still controlled my life. Every moment spent hating them was a moment stolen from my own happiness. I refused to give them that power. I learned that family is not just blood. Family is who shows up for you. Uncle Jerry showed up. Marcus showed up. My therapist showed up. Scout, in his own way, showed up. These were my people. This was my family. I forgave Amanda and Derek. Not for them, but for myself. Forgiveness did not mean what they did was acceptable. It did not mean I wanted them in my life. Forgiveness meant releasing the poison from my own heart. Holding on to anger is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. I chose to stop drinking. I never reconciled with them. Forgiveness and reconciliation are not the same thing. You can release someone from the prison of your resentment without inviting them back into your life. My parents eventually apologized. Months later, after seeing the consequences of their choices, they reached out, said they handled everything wrong. Asked if we could start over. I accepted their apology but kept them at a distance. Some trust, once broken, cannot be fully restored. I heard through mutual friends that Derek and Amanda's relationship fell apart within 8 months. The fairy tale they thought they were building crumbled under the weight of reality. The baby was born a little boy. Derek was an absent father, more interested in trying to rebuild his failed career than changing diapers. Amanda struggled alone, realizing that the man she chose was not the partner she imagined. When I heard this news, I felt nothing. No satisfaction. No vindication. Just emptiness toward two people who no longer mattered. I once believed the wedding would be the best day of my life. I planned every detail, imagined every moment. That day never happened, and I am grateful. Instead, the day I chose myself over their betrayal became the best day. The day I decided I would not be a victim. The day I took control of my own story. If there is one thing I want you to take from this, it is this. When someone shows you who they really are, believe them the first time. Do not make excuses. Do not convince yourself you imagined it. Do not stay loyal to people who see your loyalty as weakness. Sometimes the greatest revenge is simply living well. Building a life so full that the people who hurt you become irrelevant. Not to prove anything to them, but because you deserve joy. And sometimes the person you need to commit to first is yourself. I want to ask you something. Have you ever experienced betrayal from someone you trusted completely? How did you find the strength to move forward? Share your story in the comments. Let us support each other. If this story touched you, please hit that like button, subscribe to the channel so you never miss another story, and share this video with someone who might need to hear these words today. Thank you for listening to my story. Thank you for being here. I wish you the courage to walk away from anyone who does not value you. I wish you the wisdom to recognize your own worth. And I wish you the peace that comes from knowing you deserve better. Until next time, take care of yourselves. You matter more than you know.